In Project 5, we're going to take a look at inserting footnotes and endnotes in reports. And you probably are already familiar with this concept in that many research papers and reports do contain information that have been used from a variety of sources, and so you need to give credit to those sources. And a way or a method of doing this is by inserting a footnote or endnote in the document. The difference between the two is a footnote is an explanatory note or a reference that is printed at the bottom of the page where it is cited, whereas an endnote is again an explanatory note or a reference, but it prints at the end of the document. But in any event, it's given credit to that source that you've used within the document. So we're going to, in Project 5, we're going to use an existing document, this interface applications, and we're going to insert, format, and modify footers as well as endnotes. We're going to use a different document for that, but we're going to insert, in this particular one, footers or footnotes within the document, and then we'll make some changes to it. So we're going to begin, first of all, by going to the end of the first paragraph, and we're going to insert a footnote that actually appears on page 191 in your textbook. It's in figure 5.8, the very first one there, Kevin Novak, which is artificial intelligence is the name of the article, and then it gives all the information for that. This entire paragraph, the information came from that particular source. So we're going to cite it. To do that, we're going to go to the References tab, and then in the Footnotes group, we're going to choose Insert Footnote. And as soon as you do that, it'll take you down to the footnote area. There's a 2-inch line here that separates the footnotes at the bottom of the page with the rest of the document. And in that, it automatically puts a number 1, an Arabic number 1, whereas endnotes, if you used an endnote, they're little superscript lowercase Roman numerals that endnotes use as its method of numbering. For the first one there, we're going to go ahead and type in Novak, Kevin. Okay, so that's our first footnote. And then we're going to place another footnote at the end of the second section, which is a speech recognition. I also wanted to point out this number 1. If you lay your mouse on it, it gives you a little tooltip and tells you what the source is. If you double click on that number, it takes you down to the bottom of the page. If you double click on the number 1 at the bottom of the page, it takes you back to the reference within the document. So we're going to add another one. This one's going to go at the end of the paragraph in this speech recognition. Same rules apply. Go back to the References tab, Footnotes area, insert footnote. This time it's number 2, and we're going to key in the information again from that figure in 5.8. And I'm going to start this out, and then I'll go ahead and pause it so you don't have to watch me type all this in. After typing it in, you can see the information that I've keyed there. If we double click on the number 2, that takes you back to the 2 in that paragraph, or at the end of the paragraph. They want to add a third one that's located in this natural language interface section. It's actually going to be on the second, after the second paragraph in that area. And again, I'm going back to figure 5.8, and we're going to insert the third source that's listed in that figure. So again, I'm going to click on Insert Note. This is number 3, and then we'll start in typing again the information that's in that figure. And I'm going to pause it once again so you don't have to watch me. As you can see, I've typed that in. Again, I'm going to double click to go back up to the 3. The fourth footnote, I'm going to place that in the virtual reality section at the end of that paragraph. Again, going back to Insert Footnote, this is number 4. And number 4 is Curtis William. And we'll pause again. Again, I've got that completed. Double click, and that goes back to the 4 within the document. And then we're going to the last paragraph, insert the last footnote, the 5th footnote that has Marilyn Beal as the source. And again, you can see that I've put the 5th footnote in, and again we can double click and that'll take us back to the 5th one there. So they're scattered throughout, again with footnotes wherever the source is noted, the source itself within the paragraph, it's noted at the bottom of that page. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and open another document, which is Internet Future. And in this document, they're going to have us creating endnotes. And again, these are still citing sources, giving credit where it's due, but these sources will all appear at the end of the document rather than at the bottom of every page. And something real quick here, they're going to have us go back to the Home tab and apply the Simple Quick Style set. Okay, and that'll give it a little bit different look. And then we're going to insert an endnote at the end of the first paragraph, or at least we're going to make that notation. And I'm gathering these sources from page 192 in figure 5.9. Okay, so to insert an endnote, same kind of concept here. We're going to the Reference tab, and then in the Footnotes area, we're going to choose Insert Endnote. And notice this is at the very bottom of the page is where it took us. Not the bottom of the page, the bottom of the document. And also notice it's little Roman numerals, superscripts, that are used to identify each one of these endnotes. And so the first one, Abramson, Joshua, still kind of the same format for these as well. Okay, same thing happens if you double click on the little I, it'll take you back to the I. Again, if you lay your mouse on the Roman numeral in your document, it'll give you a tooltip that shows you what that reference is. Okay, then we're going to go to the end of the first paragraph in the satellite internet connection, if I can find that. No, there's just one paragraph. So at the end of this satellite internet connections section, we're going to put in the second endnote. So again, Reference tab, Footnote section, Insert Endnote. Takes me down Roman numeral 2, and it's Eileen Clements. And I'll go ahead and pause the demonstration. And as you can see, I've typed in the little 2 there, the Roman numeral 2. And again, it's appearing in your document as well. And then the second paragraph of the second internet section, we'll put in the third endnote. Again, Terry Ventrella, I guess. I don't know how you say that. Again, you can see the third endnote. And then the last one, we're going to move to the last or the end of the paragraph in the Internet Services for a fee area, which is right here. Again, I'm inserting the fourth footnote, which is Campbell Jolene. And again, you can see the final endnote has been inserted as the fourth endnote. Again, all these are appearing at the end of the report or the document rather than at the bottom of every page. Okay, again, not right or wrong as far as whether you use a footnote or endnote. It's just a matter of preference. But the point here is to make sure that you give credit to the source that you gathered your information from. Okay. Something else to keep in mind, we'll look at this. We're going to be doing some editing to our footnotes. When you copy, move, delete footnotes or endnotes within your document, Word automatically renumbers those for us, which is really nice. You don't have to worry about making sure they're in the proper order. So in Project 5C, we're going to take a look at some of those formatting and editing features for the footnotes, and actually endnotes for this particular example too. So in this document, we're going to go through and just make some real simple changes. For example, in the EndNote, Joshua Abramson, we're going to change the page numbers from 8 to 12 to 5 to 9. So, and honestly, you could go to the very bottom of the document and you'd be able to change it right there. They're just showing you an alternative way here in Project 5C that's on page 193. One thing you can do is if you go to the Next Footnote button and click on the drop down arrow, you can go to where it says Next Footnote. Do that one more time. And I don't know, let's see here. Okay, looks like you have to be on that particular footnote. Let's go to the show notes for just a minute, and by doing that, that takes you to the area down at the bottom. I'm going to modify a little bit as to what they've done in Project 5C. This takes you to the area that has each of your endnotes, and we're just going to go ahead and modify that. As I kind of alluded to previously, it's easier just to go to those notes and make those changes. We're going to make changes to the first one there. We're going to change the pages from 8 to 12 to 5 to 9. And then something else they want to show us that is if you want to change the font size to the entire document, you can certainly do that, but typically that does not change your footnote entries or your endnote entries. So if I press Control A, notice that's not selecting the endnotes and footnotes if you had those as well. So if we want to change it, the font to constant whatever, this right here, Constantia, we'll say. Okay, that changes it for everything, but it does not change the endnotes. So you'd have to go down, click somewhere in the endnotes, and then press Control A, apply that same font to those so that you're consistent. So you always want to make a mental note of that when you're making changes to the document, font size, whatever, that doesn't change your endnotes or your footnotes. And also, just another reminder too is that that's the same thing with headers and footers. If you make a change to the body of your document as far as font size or the actual font itself, you'll have to go to the header and footer area also to make those changes. Okay? Now the next little editing that we're going to do is we're going to convert these endnotes to footnotes. And to do that, we're going to go back to the References tab. And we're actually going to launch the Footnotes dialog box. So I'm going to click on this dialog box launcher. That kicks you into the Footnote and Endnote dialog box. And you'll notice it's already set for endnotes that appear at the end of the document, but there's a Convert button. So if we want to convert those, the option is Convert all endnotes to footnotes. We're going to click OK to that. And go ahead and close out of this so we can see what's happened here. Go to the very first page. There's our first one. Notice it's changed it to Arabic numbers, number 1. And then our source is on at the bottom of this page. We'll see where 2 is. If I could double click on 2, takes me to the paragraph under Satellite Internet Connections. 3 should be there as well. This is where we can click on Next Footnote, and it should go to each one of those. I don't think we have a previously in step number 1B, they had you moving to Next Footnote, and there wasn't any footnotes at the time. It was endnotes, so I believe that's an error in the book. But anyway, we made it through and made our change in the show notes option. So anyway, now we've converted these to footnotes, and just a couple of things here. We can also, by default, remember it applies the Arabic numbers to our footnote numbers. You can change those. There are a variety of options that you can use there, but again, we need to go back into the Footnote and Endnote dialog box, and you'll notice the format here. The default is set at those should be, we'll see what happens here. Let's go ahead, I'm going to go back into this. I'm going to choose footnotes, and then we're going to change that to letters. And then I'm also going to, while I'm in there, make it so that our first letter begins with a D. Okay, and then we're going to apply. And now our first footnote should show a D. If I double click on that, take me down to the D's down here at the bottom as well. So we changed not only the way that it appears as far as the numbering and now it's lettering, but we also changed where it started. So you've got a lot of control and flexibility as to what's appearing in those footnotes and endnotes. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go back and change those to what they should be. The footnotes we'll use as Arabic numbers, should start at number 1. Okay, now we're back to where we should be. And then as I mentioned previously, if you make changes, if you delete or copy, move footnotes and endnotes around within your report, it'll automatically renumber, which is very helpful because sometimes when you're creating a report from scratch, if you're the one that's editing and making these changes, you may decide that the second internet section that needs to go on page 5 or whatever, and when you move that, then that pulls it out of sync and out of number. It wouldn't be 3 anymore, it'd probably be a 5 or something like that. So it's great that the word feature, just by moving it or deleting items, actually renumbers for you. Now what they're going to have us to do is they want us to delete the third footnote, which in this case, actually let's go down to the show notes, and we're going to, let's go to previous here, previous footnote, which would be 3, and we're going to delete that out. Okay, let's go to the numbers, see if we can just delete a number. Okay, so we have to delete out the number itself. So undo that, leave the notes as is, turn off the show notes. We'll go back to the 3 that's in the document and we'll just press delete there to remove it. When you remove it within the paragraph, then it removes it down in the notes area. So note to self, can't delete out the footnotes or the endnotes within the panes at the bottom or at the end of the document, but you can certainly go to the numbers within the document, wherever they're located in the paragraph, and delete those, and then they'll automatically be removed in the show notes area. And also with that, it also renumbers those footnotes and endnotes.